Ladies and gentlemen, the world of chess is full of stories. Lots of different sports have players with trajectories that go up and down, and so on and so forth. The same thing does happen in chess, but the circumstances around what I will be showing you in today's video are really quite fascinating. And they have to do with the person on the thumbnail, Nodirbek Abdusattorov. Now, if you don't know anything about Nodirbek, 5 years ago, when he was just 18 years old, he became the world rapid champion. He might have even been 17, like just before his 18th birthday. It was very, very close. But 17, 18 years old, becoming the world rapid champion. The youngest to do it up until that point. Nodirbek was the superstar of Uzbekistan. I mean, leading them in the Olympiad every single year, playing against Magnus, Hikaru, all the top players in the world, 2780 rating, top 5 in the world. But then he didn't make the candidates tournament, and he has actually never made the candidates tournament. The player who made the candidates tournament was Jawahir Sandarov, who is now a top 10 player in the world. Uzbekistan has 2 superstars, but their original star fell to his lowest rating in years, just 3 months before I'm recording this video. And then everything changed. Everything changed for Nodirbek Abdusattorov. December 2025. About 3 days before this tournament started. I apologize, not this one. This is just totally wrong. The dates are down here. Around halfway through this tournament, Sandarov wins the World Cup and qualifies to the candidates. And at this time, Nodirbek went on a rampage. He won 6 games in a row in this tournament, and he won the tournament. Then he played in the Wimbledon of chess, except it's held in a tiny remote Dutch village, the Tata Steel Chess Tournament, which has been going on for many, many years with many different names. Nodirbek won that tournament as well. Winning this tournament is a rite of passage for any elite player. And now in February of 2026, the 3rd month in a row, Nodirbek enters an elite tournament with players like the world champion Gukesh, Vincent Keimer, Jordan van Foreest, Hans Niemann, and others. And he won the tournament again. Nodirbek won this tournament with 6 points, clear first place by 1 point, undefeated. And he's back up to 2780 and the 4th highest rated player in the world behind Magnus Hikaru and Fabiano Caruana. Now, in this video, I will show you a few of his games. I did show this one game in some of the recaps that I did. This one was in the video about Gukesh, but I will show this game from Nodirbek, this one, and a few others. And, this man is on a mission. His countryman, Sandarov, locked in and dominated. And Nodirbek decided there's going to be 2 of us, and he's back up to number 4. Now, this game I already showed. I will just briefly summarize it. It was a weird English opening. From the early going, it was Gukesh who had a bit of an advantage from the opening, and in a very complicated middle game, Gukesh just couldn't find his way forward to capitalize his advantage. He burned a lot of time. Nodirbek got back into the game, outmaneuvers Gukesh, goes up a pawn, and then this endgame is actually equal, but Nodirbek relentlessly fighting for a way through, and he does find a way through deep into the game, 60th move, with a very clever little maneuver, which is to sacrifice his g-pawn. And the point is that he threatens a checkmate, he threatens to promote at the same time, deflecting both these pieces simply wouldn't work, and he beats the world champ. He beats Gukesh back-to-back tournaments. He beats him in Tata Steel, and he beats him in Prague, and I have no idea when the next time they're going to play, maybe Norway Chess. I don't know if Nodirbek is playing there. But he won some other games that were, really, what's interesting about Nodirbek is that he gets it done in a variety of different ways. He gets it done with relentless pressure. He gets it done fighting back from bad positions. He gets it done with equal games and outplaying the opponent down the stretch. Very good opening preparation. Like, he'll win any type of way. So in this game, he played Aravindh Chidambaram, who's Indian Grandmaster, and 2700. Although I think he's dropped since then. I think he's maybe high 26s now. And in this game, we got what's called a Philidor defense, which is not a Pierce defense. I guess Philidor, I apologize, would be some sort of like knight bd7. Yeah, I don't know what technically, I think now it is a Philidor. And also this is sometimes called a black lion, regardless. Castles, rook e1. And black has several ways to play here. A lot of them involve pawn on c6, a pawn on a5, or on a6, just creating spikes to make it difficult for white to go. White generally plays moves like a4, h3, actually brings the bishop back to f1 to get out of the way of black's pieces. Here, though, Aravindh captures on d4, the knight goes to e5, and Nojabek, you see, retreats the bishop next to the king because it doesn't have anywhere else to go. It could go to b3. That is probably also very natural, but it could come under fire in some ways. And actually, you might even move the bishop out this way. Like, it's a very flexible move, and you don't want the bishop to block the pawns. You also might want to move the knight here. There's a lot of reasons why you would do this. The bishop goes to f4 for Nojabek, back to g3. Aravindh plays bishop f8. Notice both guys slowly repositioning their bishops next to their king. I know this is very different than the stuff that you might be used to seeing. Nojabek now has a potential target on the d6 pawn, advances on the queen side, makes a couple of improving moves, but actually from the opening, Aravindh did exactly what he needed to do. He got a great position. He took control of this file. These pawns are, well, taking control of this file is relative. Obviously, white can fight back, but black is always threatening to take and potentially damage these pawns over here. White cannot take the pawn on d6. It's far too risky. Rook to d8 would come in with a pin, so you can't really do that. Knight goes to d4, bishop slides back, and Nojabek starts to try to figure things out, but he can't. Even though he's trying, he is failing. He is not figuring things out, and actually, it's Aravindh who takes over the game. So Nojabek is getting outplayed. That's what's going on. Aravindh, beautiful coordination of his pieces, knights controlling very well, bishop pressuring, and in an uncharacteristic turn of events, Nojabek in this game is down on time. So one other thing about Nojabek, very fast. Almost up on time in every game that I've ever seen him play. But in this game, clearly not very happy with where his pieces are going, not very comfortable with the structure, and he's down on time. So what do? Well, you panic and lose, obviously. That's what I would do. But he's 2780. So what he does is he tries to go for some sort of complications, and he goes knight to e5. And now the position's very sharp, but he has 6 minutes to make 15 more moves. If he doesn't make the next 15 moves in 6 minutes and 40 seconds, he will lose. He's going to lose the game. So how is he going to pull that off? All right, well, there's a lot of things to be said in this position, but there's a pin here, so probably bishop e6 is nice, but it's a high-level move. Aravindh takes on d5. He spends 10 minutes. Nojabek gets rid of the bishop, and then he plays queen d1, getting out of the pin. Black can now walk in with d4, so Nojabek, not only is he in a bad position and down on time, he's also down a pawn. So what's he going to do here? The computer wants Aravindh to play h5, h4. That's a little bit tricky. Aravindh plays much more human. He spends a lot of time, though, and he goes d4, and suddenly, instead of capitalizing on his advantage, Aravindh is potentially giving back equality in the position to Nojabek. And Nojabek begins creating a little fortress here, a little barrier, not allowing any piece in, and it's not really clear how black is going to capitalize. Yeah, he chose the wrong path, and now Nojabek is up 8-5. Totally is going to reverse the momentum here and blow his opponent off the board. So bishop d3, he's still making consolidating moves. He's picking up the steam, picking up the momentum. That pawn is weak, and that pawn is probably going to be captured. Aravindh moves the pawn to b4. And now here comes h4. Pawn down, but 7 minutes remaining on the clock. Nojabek has not gone down below 7 minutes. This is move 25. Move 25. He has not gone down below 7 minutes. 8 moves. Now, he gets bonus time every time he makes a move, but he just decided, I'm not gonna go down on time. I'm gonna make every move instantly. He flipped the switch, which is what every elite player past like 2770 does. They flip a switch. h4, knight g5. He's not making a draw. There's no way to repeat here. So black is still better, and he is fighting. But Nojabek, queen c4, creeping forward, looking to create some attacking chances. Aravindh panics a little bit, gives up his pawn. Now white is not even down a pawn anymore. And he's going to try to get this into a better endgame. An endgame where he stops the pawn and this pawn's going to go. So what is Aravindh going to do? He trades the queens into this endgame and plays rook a4. But now Nojabek completely stopping all these pieces from entering the game. Black goes for counterplay here with b3. Nojabek h5 pushes the knight back and bishop d6. Look at what he did to Aravindh. He did this a pawn down and down a ton of time. totally reverses the game. C5, rook b3, rook b6, and this is domination. G4, king g3, rook e7. Absolutely pancakes the black pieces. From like the 27th move, black had this structure, right? Look at these pawns. And just watch the pawns. The pawns move a little bit. Nodirbek completely dominates his opponent with his 4 pieces versus the corresponding 4 pieces. Black has to give away that pawn. Then he ends up giving away the B pawn. So he loses both his pawns and gets totally outplayed while the rest of the pawns and the pieces don't do anything, get frozen on the back rank, and Nodirbek barely burns any time to do this. Total outplay down the stretch, and he clutches this game out from just a position that did not look... There was nothing special about that position. Now, this is how he plays. He is creative, imaginative, he's fast, and he's fearless. And when he's on form, he is playing really, really well. Now, this was a game against the tournament leader for most of this tournament, Jordan van Foreest. Now, he didn't finish the tournament well, but he was playing unbelievable in the beginning. Just look at this game. So in this game, there is a Dragon Sicilian. This is what this is called. Knight f6, bishop c4. And Jordan plays a5, and then he plays a4. This is some sort of cutting-edge opening preparation, giving up the a pawn completely to one of these pieces, and you're going to try to take back on e4 like this. But here, after knight b5, you know, it looks like you're simply going to get your queen trapped. Apparently, you're not because of d5. So that move is sacrificing a pawn, but not really because the bishop has to stay guarding the knight. Nodirbek goes here, and plays the move queen to e2. And white actually has an advantage. Both guys are spending a lot of time here, but it's a very sharp position. It's anything but easy. So with no preparation on the board, how do you actually outmaneuver here? Here, apparently, the move c4 was extremely strong, but okay, we got rook to d1, fine. Knight goes to e5, very messy game. These pieces are getting targeted. These pieces are standing in the center of the board, but they're actually very well protected. White could maybe try to attack them with the pawn. Okay, he brings back the bishop. Now, Jordan plays the extremely imaginative and creative rook a5, which is just not a move that you are used to seeing at elite chess. Hitting the knight on b5. Nodirbek brings the knight back, regains composure in this position. Queen to c7. Jordan just straight up gives him a rook, which is incredible, right? Bishop d7, and now this is targeted. Nodirbek goes up an exchange here and brings the knight back, but actually Jordan has... This is incredible stuff that's happening here. Black just has a great position. White's pieces are not very effective. The knight and the bishop are not really participating in the game, so it's difficult for him to kind of make some progress. So what is Nodirbek going to do? Like I said, imaginative, creative. It looks like black is crashing in here. Of course, you could just take, and then he's going to take, and then rook b8 and queen b4, and you're going to hunt these pawns, and white just can't really get out of this territory. It's a beautiful structure for black, who has much more center pawn control than you. His king is very safe. So what does Nodirbek do? Well, he doesn't like the position is very stable, so he sacrifices the knight in the center of the board. He just bulldozes the horse. The whole thing is going to get cleared out now. Pawn takes, rook takes. Black has lost all his center pawns. This is under attack. This is pinned, so bishop takes is a threat. Black has to go back. Now rook to d6, and it's about to get a whole lot better than that, because in this position, bishop to e6, Nodirbek has a 3-pawn advantage. Everything has been cleared off the board. These pawns are going to go. Rather than dealing with 2 bishops versus the rook, he sacks the rook as well. Rook takes e6. He has 4 pawns for the bishop. But somehow, despite all his best efforts to convert this position into a win, it's actually unwinnable. It's mind-blowing. It looks like white should just win this easily. And the thing is, if black traded the queens here, so like let's say black went king, let's say bishop f6, queen b5 takes, this is much more winnable for white, much more winnable. Because what you would do is you would bring your king and you would push your pawns, and you know the rook and the bishop are kind of helpless. The computer still thinks it's maybe holdable, but it's going to be really difficult. Black needs the queen. Jordan needs the queen to create counterplay against the white king. That's the only way. He has to zip in here with the queen, target this position. That's the only way. He goes queen f5. Nodirbek, of course, would love a queen trade, but he's just not going to get one. The black queen is going to stand around very active, very confident. You're going to create same side, king side play, put the king on h7, look for bishop e5 ideas. White has to push the pawns, but he's just not going to be able to do that. He can't play b4, he can't play a5, because black is hitting the side of the board. So he's going to try to find a way, but he just can't. Queen f3, excellent activity. I think Norderbeck might have thought that this endgame was winnable, and to be honest, it was very close to being winnable, but with the queens on, he's not going to get black to trade his queen. Jordan is going to... Look at this. Jordan actually wins a pawn and has winning chances now because a very important pawn was lost. But ultimately, Norderbeck sacrifices another rook. This dude sacrifices 2 rooks and a knight in the same game, but as fate would have it, that is chess at the highest level. You do not win this position. Queen d7, queen c3, this is simply a draw. Why is it a draw? White doesn't have the firepower to take down the bishop, but the bishop and the queen don't have the firepower to take down the king because you'll put your queen here, and white is never going to get mated. White, it's kind of like mutually assured destruction here. So even in his draws, this man sacrifices 1 rook, he sacrifices 2 rooks, and he sacrifices a knight. He gets 3 brilliance, and it's a draw. And that's chess at the highest level. But this is the type of chess that he is playing. Even his draws are crazy. And the last game that I would like to show you from the Prague Masters is just yet another type of flavor of the Norderbeck, style of victory. When he plays black, winning with black is not easy. So he plays a Queen's Gambit declined. He plays d takes c4. dc4 is one of the sharpest lines that you can play, especially if you then commit the move b5. Now, if white wants to play really boring, he will play e3. That's what he's going to do. But he goes for e4, which is the maximalist approach, and black plays the move b5. This is what you are able to play now. You cannot take. I mean, you can, but then I would take this. So what most people do here is they push, and then they take. And so black now moves the knight to b6, and this is what black does. Knight c6, bishop e7, bishop b7, and castle. And this pawn is a little bit ugly, but you can't really do anything about it with white. Like, it's really hard to win the pawn. In fact, if you try to win the pawn, you're going to end up losing your bishop for it, which is simply not a good move. So we have bishop e2. Okay. Knight c6, developing, targeting the center. Bishop e3, stable move, making sure the center is nice and controlled. And castles, white plays a3, controlling anything coming to b4. Norderbeck develops, and this is our position. Now here, of course, white can just castle. But that's actually not the engine recommended line. The best line here for white is to delay castling and make a waiting move like queen c2. And black has to spend a little bit of time here. And he goes knight a5. But one of the key ideas of not castling here for white is to try to take your head off with the move h4. So David Navarra, extremely creative player, targets the castle black king with his queen, the knight, and the rook. That's one of the benefits of not castling. And you can use this in your own games, especially in Queen's Gambit positions, but in other positions as well. When people castle too quickly, and okay, sometimes they have a knight here defending things, you can use your other, your opposite side rook and the queen from a distance and create some ideas like Greek if sacrifice, Trojan horse, bringing the knight to g5. And while Norderbeck is accepting that this is coming, he is under threat of mate. So how does he do when he is being attacked? We haven't really seen that yet in this video. We've seen some endgame grinds, we've seen comebacks, we've seen, sustain pressure on the opponent. Okay, so how is Norderbeck going to reverse the attack here? Plays g6, doesn't get mated. Thank you for game review, giving us this blue exclamation mark. Knight takes d5, bishop d5, and knight back to e4. He is reloading the attack. He wants to go rook d1, stabilize the center, and continue launching pieces in this direction. So, Norderbeck has a little bit of time to think, and he comes up with the move c5. Wow. A pawn sacrifice. A pawn sacrifice that will do a couple of things. Ruin the white center. If your opponent is ever trying to attack you on the side of the board, like is happening here, the center should be stable. Because if the center is unstable, the chance of a counterattack and piece transfer to defense is much higher. When the center is unstable, you will smash a counterpunch down the middle of the board or wherever much easier. If the center is stable, I have to shave my mustache because it's irritating my nose when I talk. So I will be doing that after this video, not that you asked. But it is also allergy season, so I will be touching my nose a lot. I'm not, stop. I know what you're thinking. Anyway, c5. Pawn takes c5. The other idea of the move c5, not just wrecking the center, is you do free up the queen side for counterplay, and the more pieces that you're going to trade against the opponent, the less chance he has of attacking you. So, knight b3, rook d1, bishop takes c4. This was Nodirbek's solution to the position. Look at this. c5 and a little combo where he takes the knight, his queen's hanging, but that queen is hanging. So actually you have to go here. Now I give a check. Now white has to move the king, so the king is safe, but I play rook to d8. When Nodirbek played the move c5, in fact, when Nodirbek in this position calculated knight to e4, he solved the whole game. He went, I'm going to go c5, dc, knight b3, rook d1 is going to pin my bishop to my queen. Then I'm going to take, they're going to take, I'm going to give a check, they're going to go king f1, and before I take back on c5, I need to play rook to d8 to fight back against that rook. Why do I have to play rook to d8? Because if I take on c5 immediately, let's say bishop c5, white just takes on c4. So the move rook d8 destabilizes the bishop and the rook. It does not allow my opponent ever to play bishop c4, as I will then get my rook to the other side of the board, and on the next move, I'm going to take the pawn on c5. But he must have calculated pawn to c6 or queen c4, and that is what Navarra does. He takes on c4, but now you see this bishop goes away, and now the knight gets in, and after bishop d2 and queen d2, black survives the worst of it. He survives the worst of the attack. But he's down 2 pawns. I mean, the material is equivalent, but black is down 2 pawns. Yes, he is. He is down 2 pawns. But he is going to win at least one of them back. This is a fork on d2 of a mate, and this is under attack, and black is much faster with the rook to get into the game. Nodirbek reversed his opponent's kingside attack by striking the center, simplifying material, forcing the king to a passive position, which is bad in the endgame, and going on to this long sequence of moves here, which results in this position. And when the queen goes back to c2, he actually can take the queen off the board. But he plays for a win all the time, and he goes queen to d4. In many ways, and I hate to bring up other people to describe the excellence of a certain grandmaster, but the way that he plays, very Magnesian. Queen back to d4, the queen targets 5 pawns. You talk about a powerful piece. It targets 5 different pawns and a bishop. So the queen is on a perfect square, and there is no way for white to fight it. You cannot offer a queen trade because I will take the bishop. There's no way to appease me. If you try to move your queen here or here, I will end up taking this pawn or this pawn. So white is in a lot of trouble. White ends up committing to his c-pawn because it's 2 squares away from promotion. If it gets to c7, it's going to be a real problem. Nodirbek plays rook b8. The idea of rook to b8 is that if you play c7, of course I'm not going to take on b2. I'm going to reverse my course and immediately come back and win this pawn. And so you, as white, need to keep the pawn on a light square. Now b4. It looks like everything Navarra is doing is very reasonable. He's not allowing me to get any of his important pawns. At any point, Nodirbek can play queen takes c5. But if he plays queen takes c5, that one moment of winning the pawn back gives white the chance to play rook h3. And it's not even that this h-pawn will be used to attack. It will be used to bring the rook into the game. And that's going to be a problem for Nodirbek. So Nodirbek correctly identifies this endgame. It's not just about attacking. He correctly identifies that everything in this endgame relies on dynamics. And because of that, he plays rook d8. Rook d8 targets the bishop. The bishop cannot move off of the diagonal because queen a1. That's the huge problem. So you have to go c7 now. Very creative little idea. Queen d1, take. The king would come out and the pawn would not be able to be stopped. But now Nodirbek gets the pawn over here. Rook h3 is possible, but guess what? The pawn is still threatened. Rook c7 is a threat. I am threatening to take the pawn. It looks like I cannot take because when the queen moves, I take the bishop and I go here and it's mate. I take the bishop and it's mate. So you don't have the time to play rook h3. It is just so wicked how by centralizing his queen to the most active square, he has baited Navarra into playing with the pawn, but now the pawn is stuck. So now white has to play g3. But now that he plays g3 to get his king to safety, the rook doesn't have access to the third rank and black plays queen e5. And queen c7. He gets 2 pawns back in 2 turns, and he continues to apply the pressure. By the way, look at the time. Look at the time. Look at the time. Nodirbek, from this position, there was some time adjustment here. From this position, 51 minutes on the clock. 51. Watch. He doesn't go below 45. Look at this whole thing that he did. He spends like 5 minutes. He completely solves the position in his head mentally. And he is just playing at light speed, putting massive psychological pressure on the opponent. Navarro plays king g2. Nojabek is going to zip in here and try to take these pawns. Let's not forget, the more pieces you trade here, the much higher chance of an endgame that this is going to be a draw. Like opposite colored bishops is a draw. Rook and bishop, probably a draw. So you need to keep applying pressure. Bishop f6. White goes h5, still looking to attack. We centralize the bishop, bishop d4. White plays queen e4. Now, Nojabek offers a queen trade. What? After all this time, and after everything that Gotham just said, yes. Yes. There's very legitimate chances to play this position for a win. Because at this very moment, white is very passive. And at this very moment, you will get in here with the rook, create some real problems, and target f2. It's still likely holdable. So both guys are having a little staring contest here with their queens. Rook e2 defending, rook c3. At any point, you can take those pawns, by the way. Rook a3, he goes takes, and f4. You can't take, but Nojabek goes here. Now you got to push this pawn forward. Now I'm going to go bishop a5 and put the bishop on b6. And with white, you can't move. It feels like black is the one playing for the win here. You're going to try to walk in with the king. You're going to maybe create a passed pawn. He goes rook b2. It's a little passive. Bishop f3, though, everything is still fine. King f6, but it's still Nojabek asking the questions. He's still asking the questions here. Rook c2, now the pawn's hanging. Okay, he gives it away, but it's clear he's committing to counterplay, or he's just going to play bishop c6 and say this 3-on-2 is equal. Bishop b6 back. Rook b8. King f5, looking to crawl forward with the king. Okay, and there's the pawn break. So now these two are going to fight this one. Rook e8. He walks the king over. f5. Check. One pawn move. That's all it takes. Like, if Navarro hadn't gone g4, black would have continued with king e5, king d5. He would have kept improving. He would have found a way to maybe get to that pawn, considering that it's just going to be stranded on a dark square forever. Black, meanwhile, is pressuring 3 different pain points. It's still holdable, but it's not easy, especially as you start marching up the board here. But this one pawn trade offer loses him the game. Because after king d5, the rook is hanging. You have to move the rook. And it's not that I take on g4. It's the fact that I can walk my king in. And if rook goes to c6, I disconnect the bishop from the defense of the rook from the defense of the bishop. And you lose your bishop, and you lose the pawn, and this one pawn saves the day. This one pawn wins it, because ultimately, when you go here, I take with the bishop. I sack my bishop, and this is a winning king, rook, and pawn endgame. I push my pawn, and what I will do is I will cut your king off. So you're going to try to bring the king at some point, and I'm going to push, and that's it. That's the end of the game. The second your king makes a run for it in this endgame, king f3, for example, b5 is winning. You bring your king like this, doesn't really matter. I will play rook here, check, push you away. You can probably even play rook d2 immediately. And just bring the rook all the way back and push the pawn. And the king will never cross the line, and the rook alone won't stop it. And that is how he won his third and final game in the Prague Masters. At the moment of recording this video, like I said, Nojabek is the 4th highest rated player in the world, and it's really close. He is 13 points away from Fabiano Caruana. Now, I don't know when he's going to be playing next, but Nojabek has an 18-point lead over number 5, and number 5 is Vincent Keimer. So Nojabek will be number 4 in the world for a long, long time. It is crazy his countrymen qualified to the candidates, and Nojabek has now won 3 elite tournaments in a row. The 3 most elite. In fact, he also got the silver medal at the World Blitz Championship. Dude has won 3 tournaments and is the 2nd best Blitz player in the world as well, behind only Magnus Carlsen. This dude is in peak form. He's probably a top 3 player in the world right now. If you ran a bunch of simulations of top tournaments that we could get, dude would be in there. I mean, I hope we continue to see him dominate. I don't know what his next event is, but it's incredible to see. So Uzbekistan has 2 players in the top 10 of the world. One of them is Javakir Sandarov. He will play in the candidates tournament starting in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And the other is Nodirbek Abdusattorov, who is even stronger, but number four in the world, but not in the candidates. Crazy. That's all I have for you today. You know where to find me if you want more content. Chessly, I got books, and so on. Chess for Babies is out. You know the drill. Get out of here.